Hello and welcome to, we are going through the sacred principles for healing. And today we're going to do principles 5 and 6. We're going to combine the two. And so we'll just unpack that together real quick and grab a cup of tea if you'd like and join me. And so let me just tell you what the principles are. The fifth one is the expression of love is life. The expression of love is life, light, poise, joy, creativity, and beauty. And you are this. We are each this. When we turn ourselves toward this fullness of life, we get to discover that we are these things. And then principle number 6 is that in truth, there's actually nothing to heal. There is only love to reveal. Now, that might fly in the face of your experience, and I understand that, but it's more about releasing the things that are not true about us so that we can reveal the truth of more love, which is sort of already residing in every single cell of our being. So, good morning. If we have not yet met, I am Laurie Morse, a 30-year practitioner of Chinese medicine and the director of the Sacred Health Academy, where we teach women who want to get their health back. She's probably tried everything and knows that she has to include her sacred self, but she maybe doesn't exactly know how to do that. And we do this all without overwhelm. It's an online educational journey at one's own pace. And, it basically just kind of touches that part of us that wants to live with a calm mind and energy in our body and peace in our heart. So that is the purpose of the Academy. And these are little snippets that we talk about in the Academy. And so let's unpack these principles. We've talked about in previous principles that, the prime directive of the universe is a return to love, and that you're not separate from divine love, but rather you're an extension of divine love. And if you need to replace the different words with divine love, if you want to call it source or spirit or higher self, it doesn't really matter. I like to call it love, and then I just love that word divine. So I put those two together. I'm not the only one who does that. The key is that we have a higher self that is this love. It's completely made of the particles of love. Light carries love, so those two are inseparable. Light and love. It's like the yang and the yin, the masculine and the feminine, the sun and the moon. So we just want to, the mind learns by repetition. So we revisit these concepts so that we can have access to them as an understanding and an inner knowledge inside of ourselves, rather than just something that's kind of floating around that doesn't really make sense to our inner awareness. The third principle is all of life happens and is reflected in the field of the mind. You can go back and watch previous classes on this in this page. The nature of the universe is to support, protect, provide for, and renew you. So all of that understanding helps us to be able to kind of be willing to lean into the possibility and invite it over time, so that we can trust that the expression of love is life and light and poise, or peace. Poise is another word for peace, or we could say even grace. Poise and grace are very similar. It's joy and creativity and beauty, and that we are this, you are this. The essence of all life, the essence of the source of life is love, and the expression of the source of life is beauty, creativity, joy, poise, light, love, and the life as we know it, not the world, not the projections onto the world that human minds cause, because currently that's a bit chaotic and crazy. I'm talking about life as nature, the beauty of the earth and the seas and the trees and, all of the elements and everything that grows from seeds and the wind and, all of those things. That's perfection, right? And that's life. So that's what I'm talking about. And we have the capacity to align ourselves with the energy of life, and then reach into and have the experience of, or the expression of, this beauty and joy and light and creativity. It's kind perceive that to be my job on the planet. Everything I do comes from that foundation, and if I skip that foundation, then everything I do or try to do is empty of that. And I want everything I do to be filled with that energy of life and love and light and joy and poise and beauty and grace, right? That is what it means to make life sacred. It makes our body sacred, our mind sacred, our life sacred. And we get to bless life as a result of that as we move around. Here's the thing: you can't not be this, because our higher presence, as we've talked in previous classes, is that. And what our higher presence does is it extends itself into physical form as molecules and atoms that make up our body. The perfection and the intelligence of all the systems working in the cells, and the expression of cellular intelligence is happening right now as we're connecting. And so it's really, I found in my journey, and I still do this on the regular, is that I remind myself of that. Okay, I am my higher presence. My higher presence is me. She extends herself as this body, so I can't not be those things. And I would invite you to consider unpacking that for yourself, and seeing how it feels when you speak those truths inside of your own mind and heart. And notice what comes up, because if there's some things that are just bristling against it, then that's the energy that is asking to be returned to love. So I just wrote my second book. I think the title, it's a working title, because it's in people are voting on it, but it's called, I think, A Return to Love, How to Show Fear the Exit. And I talk about all of this in much more detail. And you'll know in the next couple of weeks when it's available for you to grab for yourself, because all these little snippets we talk about are explained in much greater detail in the book. So stay tuned for that. So principle number 6, so this kind of leads us from what I just said about it, the energy that comes up that bristles against you trying on the truth that you are light, love, poise, beauty, grace, joy, creativity, all those things. Whatever bristles is, it's like that's energy that is really presenting itself as ready to be released and returned to love, so that what can fill the places and spaces in us that we have been telling ourselves that aren't aligned with truth, like we're not good enough, or we're unworthy, or we always get abandoned, or the core pains and suffering that we tend to get kind of in the quicksand about as a human being. Those things are ready when they present themselves. And so here's principle number 6. In truth, there's nothing to heal, but only love to reveal. So what we do, this is what I have learned to be quite successful in my own life and in working with others, is that I go about my life, I claim love and light in my life, I invite it into my mind, body, and life, and then whatever comes up in my awareness, or whatever I get triggered about in the world, that's mine to tend to in the moment. And there are ways to tend to energy and return it to love. And here's why: because, like I have said, or just said, you already are love. You're every molecule of your body is made from the energy, the frequency, the vibration, the molecular structure, the atomic structure, the electronic structure of love and light. And so you already are that. And at the level, and it's important to, because the mind is going to want to just push against this, right? So it's important to add the fact that we are that, because that's what our higher self is. And our higher self extends itself, its spirit part, into matter, which is us now, me now. My spirit extends itself into matter, and that is making up who I am now. But I'm not separate from that. Only when I turn away from and pretend otherwise do I feel separate from it. So so all of this is where we find out where what's hiding is by observing and witnessing without judgment our thoughts and our words and the beliefs that we hold and the patterns that we're kind of stuck in there and know that those are simply veils that are hiding or covering over the true nature of love that you and I are. It's like window tinting, right? It just simply needs to be removed. If you moved into a brand new house and it had a beautiful yard and lots of trees and pretty flowers and colors and all that, and there was like mud, like decades old grimy mud on the windows, you would clean the windows, right? Either you'd hire someone to clean the windows, you'd do it yourself, you'd scrape the grime off, you would or you'd replace the window. You would make it so that you could see out your window. This is the same idea, is that we're just removing this grime, we're taking off the tinting, we're removing the veils so that what we get to allow to come up from underneath all of that is the true nature of who we really are as extensions of our higher self, which is all the things that we've been saying already. And so once those things are removed or released or healed or transformed or alchemized or transmuted, all of that is kind of the same thing. I talk about that in the book. Then love is revealed. Love never went anywhere because it's already who you are. It seems like it might have been, MIA for a while or disappeared, but it actually didn't. We just had that tinting over our veils, right? Or that veil over our eyes or our awareness. So whatever's out picturing your life, whatever comes up for you, it doesn't make you broken or wounded or bad or wrong. It just means, oh, there's some energy that is ready to be released. Otherwise, I wouldn't be aware of it. It can't hurt me. And so let me do the tending of that. Let me do the work. Let me tend this energy and return it to love so that what can replace that energy is the energy of love and who I really am. Maybe it's creativity, maybe it's poise, maybe it's beauty, whatever the energy is that's, wants to fill the places and spaces where the false ideas of who we are were taking up space, if you will. Our minds are designed to be guided by our higher self, by the infinite intelligence or the superconscious or source mind. If we don't offer our mind up to be purified and shown and guided by the infinite intelligent mind or the superconscious mind, then we're doomed because our own mind disconnected from that the infinite intelligent mind doesn't know how to get us where we need to go. So, I literally envision that, there's this like connection to, and I see it as a golden white light in my own brain and mind to a higher mind, a divine mind, if you will. And I'm constantly envisioning and intentionally connecting my mind to this higher mind so that I can be shown and taught and guided about what's true about myself and any given situation, because I don't know. I have surrendered to I have surrendered to the fact that I don't know in my own small mind really what's going on, right? But my higher mind does. And so as long as I stay connected and I make sure that I'm engaging that connection intentionally, every morning I set that up and then I make sure it's I do it more throughout the day as well. I do it before I go to bed so that I have these bookends, and then I have these moments in between the bookends where I'm making that connection so that I can be and then connection. Yeah, it's just I've just come to understand that it's not possible to get there without the connection. So it works when this awareness and this acceptance of a higher mind, and the guidance from that mind, and the purifying of my own thoughts from that intelligence, and the alignment that I just explained, I tend to and create. When we allow that, then life actually works in a completely different way, and it's better. But each of us are the only ones who can allow that. So you have to allow that and activate it, or invite it, or intend for it. And I have to do, each of us have to do that. So, and I want to say, this is my final little tidbit here, is that creativity is a gateway to this connection. So if you feel like you've tried to make that connection, and you're not really sure, like if you don't feel it, or you have no idea if it's really there or anything along those lines, then engage in anything creative with the intention of learning to feel this relationship, this connection, right? And it's okay if it doesn't happen in the first few times. Just like any, if you wanted to cultivate a new, like, romantic partnership, there's a lot of things that happen before you actually feel something for another person, right? You got to figure out how to meet someone, and then you got to sort through different people, depending, in a dating fashion, or however you would do that. And then you got to spend a little bit more time for the ones who kind of felt like, okay, maybe there's something there. It takes time, right? So please give the relationship that you're cultivating with your higher presence, or your higher self, or your creative life force, please give it some time, and please give it some of your energy and your willingness and your cultivation skills, right? And that's okay if you're just going to learn that step by step. Um, Only our small human lower mind, disconnected from our higher self, says, I can't do this. As long as you don't give up and you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll get there. And, you know, uh, how can I say this? What I realize in hindsight is that all the time that I was doing this cultivation and I couldn't feel it, and I didn't feel like it was really happening, and why would I bother? It actually was happening. It was like the seed under, you plant the seed under the ground, and then no one sees anything, and then there's all this stuff going on under the surface of the earth, but we don't see it. So, unless you absolutely know the seed was planted there, anyone else who'd walk up would think, yeah, there's nothing happening here. But there's all this activity. There's the breaking open of the seed shell, there's the nourishment from the soil, there's the exchange of all this activity under the earth's surface, and then at some point there's a sprout, and we see it above the surface of the earth. And it's the same idea here. So please give yourself some patience, and some compassion, and some willingness to listen to your heart that knows this is really good, what we're talking about, and be willing to set aside your mind's tendency to go, there's nothing to this. Just go, I know you feel, this is what I do, right? Just say, I know you feel that way, but we're just going to keep playing with this, and we're going to, playing is the best way. We're going to keep practicing and playing and inviting, and pretty soon, I know, just like anything, this is what I'm telling my mind, I'll notice something. There'll be a shift, and it might be subtle, but it'll be there, and it's enough to keep me going. So thank you for walking this 12 principle journey with me. And I'm getting a notice at my, yeah, okay. Anyway, I am complete here. So next week we will be talking about the 7th principle, and let me know what popped for you. Oh, I also put a link in the comments for you to go and check out some creative options, creative health processes. One of them is free, The Anatomy of Your Higher Self. So grab it and go play, and I'll see you next week.